Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into the last episode of Best Bet of the Bing Crosby season. I'm bummed it's coming to an end and that we have to wait 7 months until we get to do it all over again next summer. But we've got a really nice 9-race Sunday card to take on 2 really good graded stakes races to close out the Fall Turf Festival here at Del Mar. And you can cue Barry Manilow. Oh, Mandy. That's right. We got a bunch of mandatory payouts today. Everything must go. Every pool got to get paid out today. So lots of opportunities on the card. Happy to have today's guest to help us figure out some of those races and try to hit something really good. I'll introduce him in a minute. But first, as I always like to remind folks, this is not a traditional selection show. We're not going to talk about every race, just going to give out specific races or wagering strategies that offer the best opportunities to make a decent score. If you're watching live, feel free to leave us a comment or ask us any questions. The show will also be archived on Del Mar's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube platforms. So back to today's guest. His family is very active on the ownership side, mostly based in Chicago, but they are race all over the country, and they've had some really good success out here in California over the last couple of years. I know he's heavily involved in that aspect of the game, but he's also a very sharp handicapper, an excellent contest player, and someone who is not afraid to put his money where his mouth is. Please welcome today's guest, Steve Sanovich. Steve, what's good?
Frank, what's up, buddy?
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you got a lot going on. You were just at Indiana Grand playing the contest, driving through the night, all that stuff. So I'm really happy that you're here. But let's get right to it. You know, we've only met a few times. We've only spoken a few times, but I see that family name in the program all the time as part of, as owners of horses. First off, tell us how you got hooked on racing. And then secondly, what keeps you coming back for more? Because look, let's face it, we know racing's not easy for the gambler, for the owner, whoever. It's a tough sport.
Well, racing, I actually started, when I was a kid, actually, I stayed the summer with my grandfather in Springs, Arkansas. And he would always sit at the kitchen table and read the racing form. He had like 5 or 6 different colored pens. He'd have like a binder with notes in it. And I always wondered, like, what is he doing? And then he came up and visited us in Chicago area, and we went to Arlington, and he hit a pick 4 or a pick 5 for like $1,500. This is back in like 1989. And I was like, wow, look at that. You made all that money. Like, you only bet like $3. Like, I want to do that. I was like 14 at the time or something like that. And later on, I don't know if you know, I live in Kenosha County in southeastern Wisconsin, just over the border, and we had a place called the Dairyland Dog Track here.
Wow!
And we had simulcast, and I would go there all the time and buy racing forms. This is before everything was, you had Formulator and all that. We didn't have the computer. So I would go every Saturday or Friday, and I would buy the Saturday's form and watch the races on TV. And I would actually even do like video recordings of the Chicago Sportsman Show with Dave Gutfriend.
Dave. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He used to do a show on there for Sportsman Park, and I would have a VHS TV combo, one of those VHSs that built into the TV. And I would record his show, and I would watch those replays of all the horses. But that was before we had, what we have now.
Right.
So that was the only way you could really get replays. And so I started doing that. And then later on for contest play, I got involved with that when I did really well. I don't know if you remember publichandicapper.com.
Yeah, I do.
It
Sure.
was it was run by Scott Carson, and then Chris Larmy was on there.
Yep.
And I used to write about each race just on my own because anybody can do it. And I won the contest for a Vegas seat in 2011. And I think I hit that year Animal Kingdom in the Derby, and I closed it out with Drosselmeyer. And I
Oh,
hit
wow.
between. And Scott said, "Hey, do you want to be an editor? You write all the time about the races. We'll get you on the site." So I was on that site for about 7 years, writing about the races. Now he's moved into sportofkings.net, and they have
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I like both those guys. I know Chris is a terrific contest player.
Mhm.
For a long time, we used to have a contest at Surfside, which was the OTB place right at Del Mar. And I know every time we had one of those contests, Chris was always out here. So I got to know him a little bit from that. And then, of course, following him on Twitter, etc. So, yeah, you were from some pretty sharp guys. And, of course, Dave Gutfriend, the Maven. When I did my book with Pete Fornatel, 6 Secrets of Successful Bettors, he was one of the first people we interviewed because he's a sharp dude and he's been doing it for a very long time.
Oh, speaking of that, I got it.
This is not a paid endorsement, I promise you.
No.
Steve and I did not talk about this in advance.
I've had that book on my shelf for a long time. I peek at it. It's still from time to time, but I've read it front to cover.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I should probably pick it up and look at it again because every once in a while you get into a little bit of a rut. You need to shake things up, go back to fundamentals, and get some good advice from other people. So thank you for showing that. That was that made my day. So
it's a cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's a great background. I love that. Obviously, it shows your passion of the sport, and you're like me. We're smart enough to realize we should surround ourselves with pretty smart people so we can learn. Because once you think you know everything about this game, you're sunk. This is the toughest game in the world, and you have to constantly be learning.
It's a tough game. You're gonna have hard knocks, and then you learn so much. Like when I won that contest in 2011, I didn't know what I was doing. I always liked to pick long shots, so that's why
Right.
I got lucky and hit a lot of them, and then the rest was history. Now, I mean, I'm on a text thread. It's called the Lone Speed text thread. It's myself with Rich Nilsson, Justin Dew, Dylan Donnelly, Frank Mustari.
Oh, wow. It's like a
Steve
murderer's row of horse players. That's a pretty good group.
And my brother, and we're on there. There's 7 or 8 of us, and I mean, just last week, I think we hit like 5 in a row, and the average payout was like $22. And Frank hit a huge exacta. He moved over to Kentucky now. He doesn't do Gulfstream anymore. He does his own pace figures. Dylan, his reputation is well known, especially by you.
Yeah, he's been on the show
at a young age. I mean, so what he knows at his age is pretty amazing. And all the other guys are really great handicappers, and we talk daily, on that text thread. And there's a lot of people that want to get in it, but you'd have to talk to Justin about getting in there.
It's so funny. You mentioned Rich Nielsen, right?
Right.
Yeah. You're probably too young to remember this, but way back in the day when the internet had just started, this is going back a long time. I'm probably talking like I got like 95, 96. There was some.
Well, I'm older than I look, so.
Oh, okay. So you might know this. There was some weird email distribution list called Derby List, and I met Rich through that because we just talked, even though it was called Derby List, we talked all things horse racing, and Rich used to he used to be on there all the time talking about stuff, and I got to know him a little bit, and then I became editor of Horse Player Magazine. I had him do some writing for us, and then obviously I'd see him at all the big contests, that kind of thing. So I hear that name. That's a blast for the past for me. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy he's still doing his thing. It's great.
Still doing his thing. Great guy. He's on there busting balls with us and talking about horse racing. And I get a kick out of Frank too. I think Justin Dew owes him like 78 White Castles on various. So I'm not sure what the wagers are. I gotta go back and look at them, but it's
You,
funny.
I've never met Frank, and I see his name on the leaderboard all the time. You're gonna have to introduce me to him at one point because I would
Oh,
love to have him on the show because the guy is obviously very, very good at what he does.
he's one of the top 3 cash players in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah, he's always up to the top of the leaderboard. It's crazy, and you mentioned Dylan. So yeah, this is you are the company you keep. So there
Right.
you go. You're surrounded by really good players, and you are one yourself. So let's just to keep with that ownership theme we talked about earlier. Bring us up to date on what you and your family are doing with your racing operation. It seems to me, anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys really branched out in the last few years. I know you brought a couple of years ago. You brought some horses out to Southern California, which we thank you for doing. You wanted to support the product, Santa Anita, Del Mar. What prompted you to do that? Are you continue to expand your operation? Where are you going to be based over the winter? All that fun stuff.
Okay. So yeah, obviously it's well known Chicago racing has taken a hit.
Yeah,
What happened to Arlington is a travesty. I
I
don't know.
agree.
Sure, you've been there before.
Yep.
I mean, there was no facility better than Arlington Park. I mean, it's just terrible what happened there. Hawthorne is going through a renovation. The purse structure isn't quite there.
Right.
So we were basically in Chicago and we would ship out here and there. Now we have tried a lot of different things. We go to Gulfstream Park. We're going to be a big staple at Oaklawn. I'll get into that. The
Cool.
reason why I went out to California was the ship and stay program,
Right.
and it's very lucrative. And if you play your cards right, if depending on how many horses you send out there, they'll help you out with the actual shipping cost, and then you get the bonus on top of it.
Right.
And if you have a horse that gets claimed, these percentages are eluding me, but you get a certain percentage of the purse money, even if you don't own the horse, which is amazing. So, we've gotten to know a lot of good people out there. Tom Quigley's great.
Yeah.
Hanging out at the Eddie Logan is one of my favorite. Food there is unbelievable, and just the camaraderie of everybody. And we use Librato Barocio
Sure.
out there. He gives us his day rates are in line what we like to pay, and he's a very good horseman. Learned from a lot of good people back in the day, and he knows what he's doing now. Up in Northern California, Jack Steiner is a guy that we have had some great success with, and not only Jack Steiner, but we found this kid Alexander Chavez.
Mm-hmm.
He's been
Shocky. Yeah.
from Panama, and we started. My dad's like, Jack, we got to have this guy exclusively on all of my horses because I mean, just I love how this kid rides, and I want to say he's clipping at like 60% up there
Wow.
with my dad's horses up there. It's amazing. Um, we've won a lot of races up there with Jack. That track's closing. They
Yeah.
expect me. Jack's going to come down to Southern California, so we'll be using him there. We do want to get our foot in the door up in Washington at Emerald, so
Wow.
we want to try that out too. Um, we do have a very large string of maybe 12 to 15 horses going to Oaklawn Park. We have some 2-year-olds that are in Kentucky right now, 3 of them that are going to be sent down there, 2 fillies and a colt. And we're excited about them. One of them is a Connect filly, another one is a Catholic boy. And the colt, that one is I can't remember the sire of that one, but they're all training really well. And when you have a 2-year-old, it's boom or bust. You have high hopes, dreams, and
Exactly.
hopefully, they continue to train well, but they're doing really good. We use a small trainer up there, Nancy Adams, just to get horses like broke and ready over there. We'll let her third string at like Belterra, or maybe we'll go to Turfway or somewhere like that. Maybe Indiana too. Um, Florida, we use Victor Barboza, Joe Arsenault. We've had some really good horses over there that we shipped out to California. Rapid Transit was a really good one. She's in full actually to blame right now. That
Oh
full should,
wow.
yeah, that full should pop out January, February, March. I think February. Lamplighter Jack, we won a lot of races, but Lamplighter Jack in Florida, he unfortunately had a knee injury in one of those stakes we ran out there by you guys, but he's on the mend and he'll be back in first quarter of next year. Um, it's my dad has owned horses for 30 years. He really got into the game maybe 25 years ago, and on and off, we've had a lot of different trainers that we still talk to today. And we just branched out, and my dad's semi-retired. He loves it. I lost my mother in April.
I'm
It's
sorry.
been really hard. Very young, beautiful woman, only 67. And it kind of takes our mind off of that. My dad has really every day, like, how Dylan Donnelly watches replays of every race of every
Yeah.
horse. Well, my dad does that for claiming, and he's always looking for a horse to claim like that. He watches every race, just about every horse at a number of tracks. Um, he's just looking to claim on Dylan's
Yeah.
gambling. So he's really worked on his craft, and he's got it kind of like down to a science, and he knows what to do, and he knows how to get, like, it's amazing. Like, he'll get a 6250 horse and he'll win an allowance race with it, or Stoic Luna won a stake race, claim that one, or another, that one I told you about, Big Legacy behind me, a
Mhm.
22-time winner. We claimed that horse for 6250 at Oaklawn Park like 6-7 years ago, and it won several allowance races, starter races, hit the board in a stake race for us. So, you got to know. We always like to try them out, but if they don't, if the horse will tell you,
Yeah.
and we'll drop them if we have to. We're not like a type of owner that's going to be like, no, we want to run it here, even, and it's going to run 20 lengths out.
Right. Right.
You gotta, but we know how to move them up, and my dad's really developed a good craft. I own some of the horses with him. He owns all the horses. My brother might own a part. My cousin David Crawley owns horses with him. The one thing that stinks is we had three of them win last year at the NHC, and I couldn't play them.
You can't play them, right? It's one of the
Even
rules.
if I don't have
Rules there.
ownership, if it's just my dad's, I can't play it. That's what I like about Hawthorne. My dad owns the horse. I could play it.
Yeah, you just have to say it's our horse. We're playing. I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. But it's very, very interesting to me listening to you talk about that, because it's almost like your dad's like the GM of a baseball team. Like, he's going out to make an acquisition to try and bolster his stable.
Right.
He's looking for someone who's going to improve his team. You don't want to claim a horse for 10. And sure, you can run it back at 10, but that's not why you claim the horse. You claim it because you think the horse has some ability. Maybe you run that horse at 15, horse wins, gets claimed, or move it up the ladder, start protecting the horse. So that's very interesting. And I was gonna ask you about that, because I want to talk about handicapping. It sounds like your dad does so much work watching the replays to try and find horses to claim. So I was going to say, do you rely a lot on your handicapping when it comes to finding horses, owning horses, whether it's claiming them or picking the spots they run in? How active are you involved in that process as well?
Oh yeah, because we'll have the inside info. We know, hey, this horse is ready. This horse is doing well. This one, we don't know. Like, for example, yesterday, I didn't play it at all because we knew Splicer at Golden Gate wasn't doing that great, and I didn't think we knew she wasn't going to win the race. And yeah, because it was Alexander Chavez, Jack Steiner combination, the horse went off at, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 to 1, and it should have been 12 to 1.
Right.
So you fade that one. The other ones, though, like, we hit Auspicious Style at 10 to 1 last month in an allowance race. I mean, Jack's calling us. He's like, this horse is doing great. You might want to get a wager in on this. And we're like, okay. And it won, and it paid like $22, and that's kind of rare for a horse to pay that much in his barn anyway. But yeah, I mean, we look at like certain ways the horse's gait is. We'll talk to some other people around the track. Hey, what do you notice about this horse? Is it tell us about the vet? Like, what's it doing there? Like, the shoeing, everything. Has it been on the vet's list? We'll look at that. Because I know by you guys there are a lot of voided claims.
Yeah.
And that's good that they keep an eye on things. You don't want to have horses that are bad goods and they get claimed, and it discourages people from getting in the game.
Sure.
They keep claiming horses that are hurt.
Yeah.
It actually happened to us at Gulfstream. We had one run and it got claimed and it got voided. We didn't even know the horse was hurt, but it got hurt in the race, so we had to take the horse back. So stuff like that happens. But my brother Danny is an assistant trainer too for Michael Hewitt in Hot Springs at Oaklawn.
I didn't know that.
So
okay.
we're sending a lot of horses there, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of good tidbits on that whole barn too. So that's going to be cool. I'm excited about the Oaklawn meet.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list. I have never been to Oaklawn Park, but I want to go so bad. It just looks like everybody who's there is so into the racing, and it's strange for me to say that because I love turf racing. That's my bread and butter as a handicapper. They don't have turf racing there, but it doesn't matter. They've got 12 horse fields in almost every race. You have horses coming from all these different circuits, and it's a real challenging puzzle. But if you figure it out and you're right, you're going to get paid over there. It's like very. Yeah.
Matt Dieterman, as you know, is moving over there.
Yep.
Great guy. Met him at the Eddie Logan. He tweeted out they had 112 entries between the 10 races for opening day. And they have like allowance races for 142,000.
Oh, I know. And the purses are good. Yeah. So that's on my bucket list for sure. I was going to say, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Oaklawn will be a home base. We're still leaving horses in California. When Oaklawn's done, move most of the stock back to California, and then we'll keep plucking stuff out east and bringing it out west. That's kind of like our game plan. I know some other trainers have tried it. It is Southern California. It's not easy to win out there, but you can. And with the ship and stay program that you have, you can make it work if you bring the right horses out there.
I agree 100%. And I'm so glad you guys are taking advantage of it because it was implemented to attract owners like you and your dad. So I'm thankful that you're supporting it because from a handicapping and a gambling perspective, obviously the bigger the fields, the better the racing, the more opportunities. So thank you guys for doing that. Let's talk just real quick. I want to get into the wagering and the races in a second, but you mentioned contests a little bit ago. I first met you at the NHC through our mutual buddy, Kieran Thornton. So, clearly you're a good contest player because you were able to qualify for the NHC. What appeals to you about contests? Do you prefer live bankroll contests, mythical? Does it not matter? And how much does that affect your daily play? In other words, do you back off your regular, if you're playing a contest, all that kind of stuff?
Well, we all started out with playing cash, before even contest or whatever.
Right.
And you're always, you start out the track, you're making cash bets, whether it's $5 across, when you first break in, you do the win, play, show bets, and you try to do a trifecta. And then you find out, I could box 4 horses for $24 and a trifecta for $1 or whatever. And then when the $2 win place thing came out, you remember the old NHCqualify.com site, which is now Players and Horse Tourneys.
Yes.
They combine those. I got into that and I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. They cap your horse at $64. And then I noticed the pick. I would always get sniped at the end sometimes. I'm like, this guy, dude, he's not this horse. He just picked it because he got $30 and he got lucky. I got upset, but I've done well with both. I did make the final table in 2019 at the NHC. With the win place $2 thing, but cash games I qualify just about every year the last 3, 4, 5 years at Hawthorne in the cash games, and I like those, especially because we have horses too. We can bet our own horses there.
Right.
But you could bet other horse trainers, hey, how's this horse doing? Or a jockey. We have several jockeys that we talk to. Hey, you've been working this horse. How's it doing? All right, boom, we're gonna hammer it. So I like cash games. I think we have the perfect mix and match of the majors, out there with the um, the big what is it, the spawn surf or spawn turf.
Yeah.
Then then you have the BCBC, that's
Yeah.
cash. And then you go back to NHC, and then you have the Pegasus. So
Pegasus coming up in January. Yeah.
you have a good mixture of them all. Which one do I like better? I mean, I at first I because I wasn't a big bettor usually, um, and I would bet my own horses. I kind of like the mythical thing, but now I like the cash games better.
Yeah.
And just being in the text group with Frank and Dylan, they have so much great knowledge and insight on the cash game
Right.
aspect. You just learn so much, from those guys. So I like the cash games, and I'm kind of like trying to move more into that, going to more live events. Like I went to, I mean, I struck out. I went all in the last race, $1,200 at Delmar, and I missed, but Chad Brown won 4-5. I needed a little bit of a bigger price, and
Right.
had an
See,
opinion on horse there. It ran fourth, but I'm going to Houston. I want to go to Pegasus. Hawthorne has another live event, 16th and 17th of February. I think that's the last weekend for tour points. You guys have a lot of great live contests and feeders on Express Bet, you know. So I'm going to do more and more cash games in the future than the $2 like mythical win plays.
yeah, I'm very much like you. My first experience with the contest was with the $2 mythical win place. Qualifying for the NHC. Used to go to Vegas for the fall classic at the Orleans. Like they had a bunch of big money contests that you could go to throughout the year based on that $2 win place mythical format. And then much like yourself, I got a little taste for the live bankroll ones, and that's where I've really gravitated to because it reflects how I am as a horse player. Like if I'm betting, I want to take something out of the race. I want to make some money. So
well, yeah, I like when if you have a will pay into something, then I was gonna hammer that horse, but now I got this big will pay. I don't have to hammer it.
right.
Or I could do okay, I'll do a win bet, but you know what? This horse is a good price. I'm gonna front wheel an exacta with some other horses, and if it runs second, I'm still gonna get paid. So you look at stuff like that. I love the double bet. Doubles
Yeah,
are
me too.
horizontals are they're frustrating. You hit them far and fewer between, but the payday is so great. But is there a better feeling than a pick 5 or pick 6 will pay?
You're looking, you're live to 5 horses, and you look at.
Oh God, it's just
Well,
the adrenaline.
let's hope we get there today because I know you want to talk about the late pick 5, and you also have some wagers within some of those races. So let's start handicapping. Let's start talking horses and betting. We're going to start off with race 5. As I mentioned, it is the start of the 50-cent late pick 5. So races 5 through 9, and we're going to talk about those. It's the $100,000 Cecil B. DeMille 2-year-olds going 1 mile on the lawn. I had to talk about this race on the In the Money podcast, and the first thing I said was I thought this was not the strongest renewal of the race. Then you throw in a bunch of X factors. You've got a dirt horse exiting Grade 1 races. You've got several horses exiting turf sprints. So it was a bit of a head scratcher to me. The morning line favorite is number 5, Lord Bullington. Horse just won the Qatar Mile on Breeders' Cup weekend. It was visually impressive, but at the same time, there were 2 things to note. The horse had a very fast pace to close into, so that kind of flattered that visually impressive run. And then the second and third place finishers were both fillies. They came back to run yesterday. I expected them both to run really, really well, and they were just okay. So I had a hard time trying to assess this race. How do we start this pick 5 off?
Yeah, I had a large win bet on that. Mo Fox Given, I believe.
Yep, Mo Fox Given. That's who I like too.
I thought I had a weird trip last time, and I burned one of my tickets on that horse yesterday. Yeah, you're right. Visually impressive, but fast fractions. It's mad scramble the first turn in that race. I use that horse as a saver, but I do like a horse in here that's getting turf for the first time. That's number one, Rothschild. It's an
Okay.
Uncle Mo. You know, they spent a lot of money on this horse, and obviously they got a little bit of Derby fever. They're trying to figure out what to do here, and maybe get to see if this horse can run on dirt, or maybe they're going to Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I don't know what they wanted to do, but it it didn't fare well. I mean, those were really good fields, and but being by Uncle Mo, and this it's out of a stakes winner, mare, albeit on the dirt. But Uncle Mo's, I love trying them on turf first time. I love betting them, and this horse is 12-1. And you're right, this isn't a tough rendition of the race.
Yeah.
We actually ran in this race with a horse named Magic Musketeer about 6 years ago, and it was way tougher. I had analyzed that or this.
Yeah, analyze that, I think. Yeah, I remember that horse.
That horse was in it that year, and that horse was a world beater at the time. There's no horse like that in here. So I like the one post here, Ramon Vasquez. He's actually going out to Oaklawn. We're excited about that as well. And we plan on using him as first call on a lot of our horses. And we're hoping he just, breaks clean down there. Go if you want, save ground, get covered up, make a move in the lane, find a lane to fire down. I mean, I just got to draw a line through the last two. It ran well three back, on dirt at 6.5 against Lesser. And, obviously this is Lesser. It just got its heart beat out of it. Like it just needs something a little bit easier.
Sure.
Not saying that this is crazy, crazy easier. It is though. Maybe they could have went into A other than, but when you're a 2-year-old, you win your maiden, you go to a stake. So I like that one. Also, I want to say that I think Tim is good with 2-year-olds. So
yeah,
this is not out of the realm. Another one that I like, Deadpan. Low. The numbers aren't great. Has a really nice move on the 26th here locally, and it's got Flavian Pratt. So I'm not going to let that horse beat me. And finally, I threw Invincible in there, just because if it catches a flyer and goes, and it's run well since they added the hood. So now we're stretching out. You never know; it might just walk the dog or get the front and keep going. So, and like I said, I'll throw the 4 on it as a saver, but I reluctantly threw it on there. I am also going to do a $20 exacta box.
Yep.
157. $120 bet. I'm going to throw the favorite out.
Yeah, I actually like that strategy. You spread, you got a 12-1, you have a the 6-1, and you have another 6-1 in your exacta. So you're going to get paid if that comes in. And then for your pick 5, you have those same horses, but you come back and you do use the logical horse as well. You don't need to be a hero. Right. If the favorite wins, you're alive because you have prices in the other legs as well. But if you can beat this favorite, hit the exacta, and you're alive, right? You're starting to pick 5 off with some really nice prices. So I really like that approach. And to your point, Yatin is very good with young horses, and he's a very good turf trainer too. He's so the fact that he's putting this horse on turf in a stakes race that, like you said, is not nearly as hard as the American Pharaoh or the Del Mar Futurity, that says a lot. So when you texted me that you really liked that horse last night, I went back and gave it extra credit because I was like, wow, that's a good sneaky pick. Because as I said, there's really no world beaters in there. It's not the toughest renewal of the race. So let's start off with some prices in race 5. Let's move to race 6. $50,000 maiden claimer, 2-year-olds going 6.5 furlongs on the main track. Morning line favorite, number 6, Sharp Azano, 5-2 for the Mark Glatt barn. This horse has shown speed against better animals and is now taking off the blinkers and running for a tag for the first time. Those are always solid angles, good old school angles. I definitely thought this horse figured, but, I also thought that some others figured as well. I thought this wasn't as easy as just look at the favorite and move on. I thought this race was pretty competitive myself.
Yeah, this race was a big, just like, what am I going to do? There's a lot of first-time geldings in here.
Yeah.
You got Pete's horses dropping the 3 from a turf route down into a sprint and switching surfaces there. It's just like I didn't know where to really go. I spread deep. You got my numbers up there, so
Yeah,
I went really deep here, and I'm hoping I didn't leave a couple off. The 5 looks like it has 0 shot on paper, but I thought that it's gelded, and we've had horses that have been gelded before, Frank, and I mean they just like wake up. So
sure. Yeah.
it's like I didn't want to leave any of them out. It was a speed fade, last time going a mile. Now it's cutting back. I also like the where is it at here? Well, I got a few other ones. I watched the company lines on the 7 and 8 are pretty strong, so I wanted to include those. You got the Bug, who's doing pretty good on that on Bowtie Boys, and obviously the 8's dropping down from that maiden special,
Mm-hmm.
which is the greatest drop in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Paul was in there, and that horse had some. If you watch the replay of that race, it was pretty eventful. I threw the 9 out, and it is gelded. Don't ask me why. I just felt like I had to make a stand. Like I could have thrown it in there and make the ticket a little bit more, and I might still do that. But as of right now, we'll just leave it where it's at here. I'm
Right.
not betting anything like in this race. I'm just throwing all those horses in my pick 5, and I'm praying I hit one of them.
Exactly. You just pray to get out of the race. No, I was going to ask you about that because you sent me, like we talked about in the first leg. Not only are you using the horses in the pick 4, but you're coming back and you're playing an exacta box with your 3 price horses. Here, you're like, I just want to I spread deep,
Yeah.
say a prayer, and if I'm alive, I'll just go to the next race, and then I can get involved in the next race if I want. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought this was one of the tougher races, not only in the sequence but on the card. It's very, very tough. And as good as the favorite looks on paper, doesn't have to win. There are some others like you mentioned. There's droppers. There's first time geldings. I thought it was a very, very tricky race. So I'm with you. I would spread in there as well. For those people who are playing the $1 pick 6 mandatory payout today. We didn't talk about the first leg of the pick 6, but we're giving you 5 races after that. So if you have the money and the bankroll to spend, you should probably go deep in that race. But let's move on to race 7. One of my favorite races of the fall. It's the prestigious $300,000 Matriarch. It's a grade 1 contested at 1 mile on the lawn with the rails at 0 feet. What a cool race. I mean, God, Chad Brown obviously really wants to win. He shipped 4 horses out here to get the money. Phil D'Amato, one of the better turf trainers here in Southern California, he's got 3 runners. Even Bill Mott brought a date to the party. So there's a lot going on in this race. Again, I did this race on Pete Fornatel's In the Money Players podcast and also for the Del Mar website. So you can go to those locations and find out how I see the race. Morning line favorite, number 5, White Beam at 3-1, trained by the aforementioned Chad Brown. She looked pretty good to me on paper, but then again, it's a big full field. There are some really, really nice horses in here. How are you playing it?
Well, I like I like 3 horses in here. And my top pick is Surge Capacity. It is a 3-year-old. Okay. And actually, I got 4 horses in here. Surge Capacity, came off that little freshening off of Saratoga, ran at Keeneland. You look at the race. Oh, it won a grade 3 and only got an 83 number. I don't even know what the rag is. My dad looks at the rags for when he claims horses, and sometimes
Okay.
I'll peek at them, but I don't really use rags. But visually, if you watch the replay of that win, it was very impressive. It could have ran a lot faster. And I think second off this little layoff, it's going to run even faster than that.
Yeah.
And I think this is the best Chad in here, believe it or not. And I am also going to have a nice win bet on this horse. So I have that horse. The race has a lot of pace. It's obvious. A bomb in here is the one. I can't pronounce it. Alundra.
Alunda Queen, maybe? I don't know. We'll have to
Alunda,
hear what Larry says.
Alunda Queen.
Let's go with that.
So you got Phil D'Amato. I mean, this horse, it ran its race in France. It ran its race, and the numbers, if you look at time form, whatever those figures are, I don't know how you calculate them. I usually use like 12 points to 15, depending on
Right.
how far it is. But that race there at Keeneland, whatever. I'll give it a pass. Good surface. Now we're on a firm. Uh, this horse is going to have a pace to run at, and for 30 to 1, 40 to 1, I just want it on my ticket. You know what I mean? And then if you look at the 10, that is another one that should be a stretch runner. It's one of the other Chads. I wasn't going to throw in, but I like the fact that Erad is riding it again. Second off this layoff again. It's going to have tremendous pace to run into, and I love how he can rouse a horse and get it ready. He'll have to he'll have to angle in, park somewhere, and save some ground at some point. I don't want him way wide in the first turn, but he's a great rider. He'll figure that out, and he's really good at this distance too. This horse, she is. 4 starts, 3 wins in a second.
Yeah.
And then my last horse that I liked was White Beam. Now, shipping these horses in, it's just fast. It's another 1 second off of a layoff angle. Usually all these horses are going to run really well second off that layoff. And even though it hasn't run here, I mean, you do have the services. Pratt, again, who also rolled this horse out back east. So I do like that. I only went 4 deep. My top pick is going to be Surge Capacity. I just feel it's going to run the race of its life, and we're going to get every bit of that 8 to 1. And I'm also going to key it in a trifecta, a $10 try. It's going to cost $60 over those other 3 horses. And we're going to see if we can hit a huge payday on Surge Capacity in this race.
Yeah, well, that's the point of the seminar. We're trying to find key opportunities where there's going to be value, overlays. And I agree with you. I saw the race very, very similar. I do think White Beam is a very, very nice horse, but I thought the value of the race was number 3, Surge Capacity. And then the other horses you mentioned, I was thinking the same thing for exotics. But yeah, if you can get a Chad Brown, a lightly raced Chad Brown 3-year-old at 8 to 1, who's done nothing wrong, and this horse is matured. I think that horse was probably prepping last time and won anyway.
Yeah.
So
watch the replay, everybody. Watch how that horse won. It was very impressive.
Very classy horse. So and that's going to be the value of the race. So
I see. Heavenly Sunday came back and won a dirt race, ironically, at Churchill in a grade 3x5. So got something to look at there in the company lines.
Yeah, I like that. So use the 4 that Steve mentioned in the pick 5, and then come back with a win bet on the value of the race. Even if you bust out of the pick 5 and you hit that win bet, you're looking at a very nice day already. And same thing with the trifecta key. So that's a really good race to get involved in. Let's move on to race 8, $32,000 maiden claimer, 2-year-old fillies. 6 furlongs on the main track. Morning line favorite number 4, Bossy Bruin Girl, 5 to 2. She ran second at this level, 2 back. Then she finished third in a rout against Tupper. She'll appreciate the drop and the cutback, and she definitely figures. But there are some others in here too that I thought had some angles and figured to run okay as well. So this was another tricky race in my opinion. How do you see it?
Well, my top pick in here, believe it or not, is going to be the 7 Conquest Celsius. And listen, I've done this so many times where I'm like, this trainer's 0 for 50. He's not going to win this race. Boom, 50 to 1 it wins. Or it's 1 for 35 like Eddie Truman is. Boom, it wins the race. This horse was bet like 6 to 1, 2 to 1. I mean, this horse was bet in these maiden special weight races.
Right.
They gave it some time off. Who knows what the heck happened? This isn't a crazy tough race. I just think it might be able to pop the lid and go. I mean, obviously you have the 9 on the outside. Not sure. But I looked at the internal fractions. That's the 9 doesn't seem to be that much faster early, if it is at all.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping with the easier company, I'm worried about the time off. especially with this trainer. But I love that Edwin Maldonado came back all these months later in his riding. So I'm hoping this one just pops the latch. And I always tell Dylan this. I hope it puffs its chest out. He laughs every time I say that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, maybe this horse will get out to the front, and puff its chest out. These cheap horses, they get that lead and they keep going.
Exactly.
So,
and there's not much behind them chasing them. So once they get that lead, it looks good.
that was my angle there. I might play a win bet on it or do something. I didn't give you anything, but maybe I'll try something. And I threw in the two other logical horses, the 8 with Pete Miller, just on class and second time blinkers, and it's dropping down to 32. It just fits in here, and it's gonna be. They claimed it for 50, so they're kind of like, all right, maybe it wasn't what we thought, but let's
Right.
reality here, and so they're gonna run it here. It should be tough, and of course you have the O'Neill runner that, whatever, you have the bug, it speed fade last time for 40. Now you're in for 32. Although it is cutting back, but it did run 5.5 where it pressed it wasn't a crazy pace, but it was pressing, and it's run a little bit better with the hood, so it fits. If Pete or Doug O'Neill don't beat me, and I'm hoping I can puff my chest out with Conquest.
Exactly. You know what? I have little marks next to a
Oh,
bunch
and
of.
I do have the Exacta box. I did give you that. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just.
So yeah, I put that up there. I have a bunch of marks. I have little marks next to a bunch of horses in this race. But on Conquest Celsius, I gave you probably can't see, but I gave the horse a big star, and I don't do that very often. I think that horse looks really good today. Really good. Speed against better horses, dropping. And you talked about Eddie Truman. He's cool, but you know what? He's been around a long time. He knows how to train a horse, and we see a lot of weird things happening at the end of the meet. Guys got to eat. They got to feed their family. They gotta buy Christmas presents and whatnot. So
these are the races they win.
Yes, exactly.
Oh man, this guy's 0 for 40, and boom, they pop one of these conditional 8 and 10. You know what I mean? So
no,
fits in the guy. Yeah, hope he has a Merry Christmas. Get some of that purse money. Win this race.
Exactly. So I'm with you on that. I love that. And folks out there, even though Steve didn't put the win bet up on the screen, if that you could throw a couple of dollars on that horse to win in addition to the Exacta box. And I'll tell you right now, if we are alive going into this last race, the will pays. We talked about that feeling with the will pays. These will pays are going to look really, really good. So let's talk about race 9, a $40,000 optional claimer, non-winners of 1, contested at 8.5 furlongs on the turf. This was another race that I did for the Del Mar website. So you can click on the Del Mar Race of the Day button at frankscatoni.com to see whom I like. I thought it was a very competitive race. I was a little surprised by the morning line. Number 10, Santo Dios at 7-2. I think John White's one of the better morning line makers out there. So he must know something about this horse that I don't know, because this was a horse that I was going to try to beat. I liked a couple of others, including your top pick in the race. But I'll let you walk us through this one. This is a really good race.
Yeah, this race here, obviously you can go in a lot of different directions if you wanted to, but I really wanted to take a stand here, and you saw my ticket so far; it's somewhat deep. I just wanted a single legislator here. I feel like this horse. First of all, these horses don't like to win often. It's your standard A other than condition, allowance race. Most of them have one win. You have a couple that are in for a tag, or they ran for a tag and they won some races. But this horse, although it has the one win, it did win a race, and it got disqualified, and it won again. So it's got really 2 wins. And this horse loves Del Mar. And I actually had a very large wager yesterday, I think 1,200 on Watsonville, which didn't win yesterday. I had to take, I was trying to do something in that contest. It didn't work out. Chad. But Watsonville ran good in there. Saved some ground, ran close up 4th, and got a decent number. So that's one of the horses he lost to. And then the other Del Mar race there, it won. It got disqualified, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, the case could be made if it should have or not, but whatever. And I have some other DQs we'll talk about on a different day.
I know. We all got them.
But this horse, people are going to maybe we get, it is Pete Miller, but maybe we get every bit of that 4-1, if not a little higher. People are goofy. They look at the 75 buyer
Right.
figure, and they're like, it won easy. If you watch the race, it won that race easy. And, it, like I said, it likes it here. You got Rosario, who he's almost like my Pat Day. When I was growing up, Pat Day, I bet him he would kill me. And when I bet against him, he would come in. Do you remember Dollar Bill?
Of course. Dollar bill, y'all. That horse would run every like.
That was my horse. Pat Day was on it. That was my horse. I bet him in all the Triple Crown races. Go back and watch those races. But
I'm going to tell you a funny story. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to tell you a funny story about Pat Day because me and my buddy Pete had the same exact experience. We'd be alive for stacks, and Pat Day would beat us. Yeah. We would need Pat Day on a single up the track. Never, ever worked out. One summer at Saratoga, they were doing a dunking booth for charity, and we found out that Pat Day was going to be sitting in the dunking booth. What? Went out there. I used to play a little league when I was younger. My first pitch, dude, boom, hit the bell. He went down, and that was it. Ever since then, we were fine with Pat Day. We exercised the demon.
Oh, it got extra. Well, maybe today I'll do some juju. I'll figure something out. I'll light a candle. I got some candles in here.
There you go. Light candle.
Rosario, please. But yeah, this horse likes. He's a horse for course angle. I like the fact that I just like everything about him here, and I think the price is going to be right. And this isn't a tough race, and I'm not sold on Maltese Falcon. I mean, I know the conditions fit, and somebody, I forgot who it was, were telling me, hey, you're nuts for not including a horse. It's no, I've seen enough, and if it beats me, it beats me. I got in here. And you're going from Juan Hernandez to Bays. I mean, I like Bays, but I think Juan's better.
I agree.
And so it's my single. I'm gonna have a large win bet on it. If I have a will pay, I'm not going to have the win bet. I'm gonna do a front wheel like exacta with a couple of horses for I don't know $40 a piece or something like that, $50. And see what happens from there.
I'm with you. I think I agree with you. I think a lot of people are going to look at those last two 75 speed figures from Santa Anita, and in my mind, they're meaningless. You look at those Del Mar races; they are both awesome. And the race that he was a maiden facing allowance horses. Right. He could not have won more easy. He destroyed that field. Granted, it was 3-year-olds only. It was. I don't know, I guess the DQ could have gone either way, but in my opinion, he was much the best. Yep. Whether he bumped the horse or not, it didn't matter. This horse was much the best that race. Comes back, runs another good one, and then, breaks. And people go, he just broke his maiden with a 75. I think that's a little sneaky. I'm hoping we do get 4-1 or higher on that horse because of that dirty form a little bit. I like that horse. And then I ended up my 2 A's for my sequence. I was also going to use number 1 Miranda Rights, just because I always upgrade East Coast turf horses when they come out here, even when their form doesn't look that good. I just feel like they're facing better company back east, and you get Pratt riding. So that's where I was landing on that race.
Pratt exits my mount or my horse, and goes there, and I thought about that, but I did look at that one, but maybe an exacta can be in line there too.
Right. Yeah, but I think is your first today. You got to back it up. So that's how we get.
Pete Miller historically has done really well at Del Mar.
Oh yeah,
he used to train for us back in the day. We had Aiden with him. We had a horse named Incensed with him. Actually, Gary Barber owned part of the horse with us.
Oh wow!
And we won some races, and So, and then he got out of training for a little bit, and then he got back in. So,
yeah, and he's local, so this is his home track. So he does like to win a lot of races here. All right, well, let's wrap it up. This has been awesome. Thank you so much, Steve, for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. Everyone out there, this concludes another season of Best Bet. Hope to see you next summer. Thanks for following along. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the show all these years. A host is only as good as his guest, and I feel like I've been very honored this meet to have some really, really quality people. So, Steve, thanks for coming on the show. As I like to say, good luck to us, and let's make some money.
Money.
See everybody at the races.
All right. Later, guys.